Google Pixel 11 series. So these are now officially official. We've had an early look at these. Give you a breakdown, we have 4 new Pixel devices, a Pixel 11, a Pixel 11 Pro, Pixel 11 Pro XL, as well as a Pixel 11 Pro Fold. So familiar lineup. Pixel 11, all of the devices, to be fair, look familiar, but with some refinements, right? So on the Pixel 11, the camera bar, the visor, it's not as thick anymore, so it's quite thin. And it's almost, if you've got a case on it, it's pretty much going to be flat, which is pretty cool, right? However, the display, I don't know about you, but it's 6.3 inches, but there's still those thicker bezels. And I'm thinking, come on, man, this is not a cheap device. It shouldn't have those thick bezels. It's not an LTPO display, which I get, fair enough, still 120 hertz, still pretty bright, but those bezels, man, they're a bit thick. Pixel 11 Pro and Pro XL, 6.3 and 6.8 inches, Gorilla Glass Victus 2 now. And the displays are 2 times more scratch resistant from what Google is saying. They look really good. 3,600 nits peak brightness, up from 3,300 nits. So they also get very, very bright. And we've also got some improvements for the cameras. We'll get to the Fold towards the end, right? So the Pixel 11, you've got a new 48 megapixel wide camera. This is going to give you 56% more light. There's a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera, as well as a 10.8 megapixel 5x telephoto zoom camera. The Pixel 11 Pro and 11 Pro XL, brand new 50 megapixel sensor. This is a 1/1.3 inch sensor, and it's Pixel's best camera yet. So improvement there. 48 megapixel ultra wide camera, a new 48 megapixel telephoto camera with, again, a larger sensor, which has 30% better lower light sensitivity. And it's also got up to 120 times pro zoom compared to 100 times. Now, I did do some tests with the Pixel 10 Pro XL and Pro, and the zoom, because of AI, a lot of times it did give amazing results. Now, the only time it didn't, because of the AI enhancement, was like if it's text and stuff, because it just makes them gobbledygook, right? Because it can't notice that text. But when it's like recognizable objects like buildings and things that you're looking from a distance, it does it great. And the best thing is it does it on device, and that was my favorite thing, right? That it did it on device, and this is also the case with the Pixel 11 Pro and Pro XL. So cameras are kind of like one of the areas where I'm kind of looking forward to testing them out. Night sight photo capture is also improved by about 4.5 times, so it's faster. There's magic capture, which I need to test out. Apparently, if you just take a video of something, it's also going to take pictures. It's going to pick the best moments for you, and it's going to enhance those with AI, kind of unblur them and things like that as well. We'll see how it is.
That would be pretty cool. I mean, like, those are the kind of the AI things that I do like, where it's like, you go to an event, like my cousin's wedding's coming up, right? I'm recording moments of her coming in and all that stuff. But
That's true.
typically, you always hit that button to take photos, and it never really captures what you're looking for. If it can do that and it can capture like moments of her coming in, that's great. Like then I'm like, okay, cool. I've got photos here. So those are the kind of things I like.
But the proof is in the pudding, right? We're going to have to test it out because, it looks great in the demos, but, once we've got it out in the field and seeing, okay, now when little Noah's going crazy and running about, right, and you're taking a video of him, is it going to be able to capture and, use AI to
Oh
kind of
god, yeah,
sharpen up those images
exactly.
and unblur them? That's where you're really going to find out.
Yes, but yeah, with kids, it's the most difficult thing. I mean, Noah's birthday's coming up soon. He's gonna be running around with friends, and you can never get them in one place to be like, pose for a photo. Those days are gone. So this is a huge help. The cameras, I agree with you. I want to see what they do because they do a lot of computational analysis, work with their cameras in there. The device looks very similar. It's got that what's the light thing at the corner now in the camera?
Yeah, so that's something that I was going to move on to after the camera. So now the cameras, talking about a few other bits, they've got camera looks, so you can go original, natural. If you don't like the pixel look, the only thing I don't like about this is it's baked in. This is why photographic styles on iPhones is the best, right? A lot of people kind of say, oh, some images look a bit too HDR-y, too many details in the shadows and stuff. I'm like, why are you complaining about that? Like, that's fine. Just tweak them in post with photographic styles because it still maintains a lot of that data. And that's what I like. I don't like stuff that's baked in, so that's something that I'm not too keen on. The creator suite is pretty interesting, so you can kind of have like a teleprompter on. So you could be looking at the camera, seeing the teleprompter going through there and stuff. That's pretty good. Yeah, let's talk about HiLight. So HiLight is on the Pixel 11 Pro, the Pro XL, as well as the Pro Fold. So it's only on the Pro devices. It's not on the regular Pixel 11, right? Now, this is basically a color LED around the flash in the camera. So when the device is facing down, if you're using Gemini, you know that Gemini is working. You don't need to kind of look at the screen. You could just be like, press the button, home button, just be like, or just, say, hey, I'm not going to say it, but whatever. You could just say that, activate Gemini and ask it questions and stuff without having to keep turning the device around. It can also be customized for different colors for your favorite contacts. So you could have red for the missus. So it's like red alert, answer now.
Oh God.
Danger. The wife is calling, you better answer now, right? And then when it's your friends, you could have blue or green. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah.
No mistress. Just remember that. There's zero mistresses there.
Yeah. Then for the mistress, what color would you have?
Zero, none.
Good answer. I was testing you there. Because if you answered
Look
with
at
a
him.
color,
Like,
you were a dead man.
What do you want me to say? Lavender? No.
If he said, imagine, can you say like lavender, then it just cuts, the stream cuts, and that's it. We don't see Anubang again. Good. You passed the test. Clever man, right? You can't customize it much as yet in terms of, later on, apparently you'll be getting more customizations for like messages and different apps and things like that. But for now, it's mostly for calls. Reminds me of the LED notification light. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it's
I used
the
to love
same.
that.
It's the same thing, and honestly, I'm sure we're gonna hear people complain about it, but it's not a gimmick. It's a feature, and it's a feature that you don't have to use at all. But I do like the fact that it having Gemini alerted, or at least knowing that Gemini is on, because even though you press the button and mentally we know it's on, it's like we always want to see that it's
Yeah.
talking or it's doing its thing. That is also really it's simple. To me, there's nothing profound about having that, but it's a necessary tool because it allows you to do the things you want to do. It's like nothing's glyphs.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's just so
Yeah.
to me, I don't see any problem with it whatsoever.
I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Performance. Now, this is something I'm interested to hear your opinion on because obviously we have the Tensor G6, right? And, Google is saying that, we've got an upgraded ISP. It's got 15%, 25% faster web browsing, 50% faster app loading. But as we've seen time and time again, when you compare it to the flagships, when you compare it to, say, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, it's just not going to be up there, right?
Yeah. No, it's not going to be, and that's the reason why they told us 25% in browsing and things that really don't care about in terms of speeds on smartphones, as opposed to say, you know, computational performance for gaming or just benchmarks in general. Now, the one thing I'm happy for is that it's going to 2 nanometer, I believe. So we will see some really good improvements from that. We saw
Good.
that with Samsung with the Exynos chipsets where this year I said, look, it's the same as a Snapdragon. Snapdragon is faster, but it's in the same league as the 8 Elite Gen 5. So maybe that, because also, Samsung is the foundry partner for Tensor, and they're using the same 2 nanometer base that they use for Tensor, I think we're going to see some very tangible improvements. Maybe I can actually game on a Pixel this time around, in sustained fashion, just because,
Optimistic.
yeah, but I think we will see some benefits. But again, for Google, that's not been their focus. It's been about AI computation and using those AI features, which is where I found it interesting that I didn't get a feel of a good cohesive AI flow, in the sense where I feel like Samsung still has a better even though Samsung is running basically backed by Gemini, I feel like Samsung has a more cohesive flow on the devices using Gemini with Bixby and all that stuff. What do you say?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think one of the key things you mentioned is if, because it's a 2 nanometer process, then it's also going to make it more power efficient. And although the battery sizes, as far as we're seeing, are going to be roughly about the same, maybe just a little bit here or there, we are going to be getting better battery life across the board, right? So because of the power efficiency of the Tensor, so that's going to be something interesting. Whether or not we're going to the gaming performance is going to be, what the gaming performance is going to be like, we're going to have to wait for your gaming tests. So we'll look forward to that and see how those actually perform for that. The other thing about the Pixels is we do have now 25 watts of Qi 2.2 wireless charging across the board. So that's going to give you faster wireless charging. We also have PixelSnap technology. So that's pretty cool. We've not talked much about the Pixel Fold. So let's talk about that before we look at the pricing. So 10% lighter, almost 1 millimeter thinner. Looks very familiar once again, right? Not as thin as the competition. One thing it does have that a lot of the competition doesn't have is an IP68 dust and water resistance rating. And that's something that, we talked about with the Z Fold 8 and the Z Fold 8 Ultra, which only have IP48. So it's not completely dust resistant. Whereas the Pixel 11 Pro Fold is, right? Now, they've got a new composite back material, which is designed to be nearly impossible to crack. And that's something that I'm not going to be testing it out, but something that you will find after time, right? And then you do have thinner bezels. You've got the cover screen, which has ceramic on there now. The inner display is now has thicker ultra thin glass. The crease is reduced as well. Although my first impressions, I wouldn't say the crease is on the same level as the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8 or the Oppo Find N6. Brighter, 3600 nits. Cameras, you've got 10.8 megapixel telephoto, which 5 times optical zoom, 30 times super zoom with AI. You've got 10.5 megapixel ultra-wide camera and a new 48 megapixel wide sensor, and this gives you 56% improved light sensitivity. So some improvements there with all of the features that we were talking about. One of the things we'll talk about is obviously with Google, it's all about the software, right? It's about Gemini. They're calling it Gemini Intelligence. There's some cool features that were demoed, such as Rambler. So if you're kind of just talking to your phone and you're saying this, that, whatever, it's gonna kind of compute all of that and actually give you something pretty solid. And then you can also change the style and things of that pretty easily, which is pretty cool. And it's also supposed to be a lot more contextual. So for instance, if you're talking to somebody about an upcoming flight, those flight details will pop up from your personal context, right? And you'll be able to just either share your flight details, or you'd be like, okay, if somebody asks you, what time's your flight? We do this a lot, don't we? Where it's like, okay, what time do you land, right? So say we're going to an event, like, what time do you land? Now, as soon as if Enabong says that and that pops up, the flight details, I don't have to go and look for it. I can just do that, which will be good. If somebody suggests a restaurant, so say I'm like, oh, what about this place? Again, that is supposed to pop up. All of these things we're going to have to test because these are contextual and it's based on the data you've given it. So obviously over time, you'll be using it more and more and it's going to give you more of that information. So interesting there. I think the other thing that I want to really touch on and get your opinion on as well is the price. So the price obviously has increased across the board, right? Pixel 11 starting at £879, but that is for the 256 gigabyte version, right? Not the 128, which is what it started at before, which I think was terrible. Like, why would you start 128 gigabytes in 2025 last year? But anyway, they did. That's no longer the case. So finally, they've caught up. If we compare it to last year's Pixel 10, that was $899 for the 256 model. But then again, $879 for a device with those thick bezels, I'm kind of like, I can picture this being reduced pretty quickly. Pixel 11 Pro, once again, starting at $256. I think the 10 Pro was around $999 for the 128 gigabyte version, but the 256 gigabyte version of the Pixel 11 Pro will be starting at £1,079. The Pixel 11 Pro XL. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting because the Pixel 10 Pro XL also started with 256 gigabytes. But now it's going to go up £1,279. So almost £1,300 for a Pixel, right?
For the 256?
For the 256, right? So that's £80 more compared to what the 10 Pro XL started at. The Pixel 11 Pro Fold is going to be starting at £1,799. The Pixel 10 Pro Fold was $1,749. So I don't know, like, because when it comes to Pixel devices, right, as we know, good solid devices, but we've got a lot of competition, right? Especially in the West, right? You've got the Samsungs, you've got, um, a solid competition. And even on the iPhone side, because look, £800 gets you the iPhone 17,
Yeah.
which, you know, pretty good overall with the smaller bezels and, all of that jazz, which you're not getting on the Pixel 11.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the US pricing with me here directly, but it usually correlates similar to the British pricing, just change the currency. But
Hmm.
compared to the S26 256 starts at 774.
Yeah.
512 is 1,099. And then the S26 Plus starts at 849 for 256. 512 is 1049. It's actually cheaper to buy the 512 Plus than the regular S26. These are all
Yeah.
directly from Samsung. And then the
Hmm.
Ultra starts at 1049 for the 256. And the 512 gigabytes is 1,249. So
Hmm.
the price of a 512 gigabyte S26 Ultra is the same price as a base Pixel 11 XL.
And
Pro XL,
most
sorry.
people,
Yeah.
most people will just be like, I'm just going to go for the Samsung because guess what? It has a lot of the AI features, right? Because it's got Gemini, it's got Circle to Search, it's got all of these features that you see. Yes, you're not going to get some of those, but are those enough to make you want to go for a Pixel rather than a Samsung?
I mean, I think that's the base here, and that's the argument that has to be made when on any of those devices. I mean, I'd even check the price of the foldable comparison, but then again, Samsung has those big trading offers for the foldable anyway. So you're looking at
Yeah.
six, 700 to like $800 for foldables. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see if it provides a very cohesive environment. Maybe it's something. I think the biggest argument for Pixel is Gemini continuity, except the problem with that argument is that Gemini itself is meant to be free flowing continuity over any device anyway, right?
Hmm.
That's the whole idea there. So we have to see. We just have to see how it presents itself in regular use, especially when testing out some of these different things where we're like, okay, some of these camera features really make sense in there,
Hmm.
and some of the other features will make sense. Like speaking of camera feature on the Galaxy, the Z Fold, we have the
Hmm.
my fan cam, which
Yeah.
I was like, no, but then I realized I was like, I do a lot of stuff where sometimes I want to just cut it to short form, and I don't want to spend time cutting it. The best way to do that is of course shooting in 8K, because then when you reduce it in size, it's still in
Yeah.
4K format. But those are the things that need to stand out for a device to be like, okay. But again, these are
Hmm.
software things, which means it can be replicated.
This is the thing. Like so many of these features that we see on Pixels then come onto other devices anyway. So it's kind of like, do you need to get a Pixel for it? You really want to have a Pixel if you want a Pixel, unless you're going to get a good deal for it. Like, and they do get reduced pretty quickly. Sometimes you'll get like offers of like a few $100 off or whatever. And I think that's a similar thing that's going to happen with the Pixel 11 series.